In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the holder of sympathy. If a look of sadness comes across the worker's face, do not proceed. Flee that building and try again later. But if a grin of satisfaction and glee comes across his or her face, then the time is right. If this happens, ask again. After finishing your query, you will immediately faint and wake up seconds later in a dark and abandoned hospital full of dying children. Reach into your pocket. You will find a vial. Show no sign that you hold the vial, for if the children find out, the urge will be too strong to resist. They will rip you and each other apart in an attempt to recover the vial. It is the one thing that they desire. After finding the vial, continue walking in the hospital. If you stray from your path, or make eye contact with any of the children, then they will immediately discover that you have the vial. This event would be quite unfortunate, and would result in your untimely death. The children will cry out for your help, but you must not give in. Do not look at them, do not acknowledge their presence. Ignoring them will make you hate yourself in the deepest way possible, but you must not give in. There are multiple paths, all which lead to the same point, but it is not guaranteed that you will survive certain paths. If you are lucky, you will take a long but safe walk. It will seem like forever, but you will find a door at the end of your path. The children will begin to rally against you. Act quickly, and find a way to open the door. If you succeed, the door will lead to a bright hospital room with a solitary bed and a single man lying on it. Remove the vial from your pocket and remove the cap. After doing so, a pungent scent will emanate from the vial. It will smell like formaldehyde. Be warned, the smell will make you lightheaded, and the sensation will threaten to distract you from your task. You must pour the liquid into the man's mouth. While getting close, you'll realize he is dead. He is a nice enough looking old man, and seems to pose no threat. But as soon as you pour your substance into his mouth, look away. For if your eyes seek his, you will be trapped in those eyes forever, just another soul lost to the holder of sympathy. After you hear him stir behind you, you must ask, "What is the price of sympathy?" The holder will put a hand on your shoulder and wordlessly transmit the answer to you via memory flashes. All who have gone before you have gone mad and have been doomed to live in the hospital, begging for the poison of the vial, begging you to be their angel of mercy, begging for sympathy. But if you survive, the man will die again as a result of the poison, and you will make your exit with the vial, which will have refilled itself. The vial which you hold is Object 231 of 538. Hope to any gods you may have heard of that you never have to use it. Hi there, this is Micah. A brief note about Object 232. It is the holder of deliverance, proudly written by Damascus. Now, let me tell you a little something about Damascus here. His is probably the lowest rated holder I've ever seen, at a staggering 1 out of 5 on the page before the thing went down. I'm pulling from archive.org for these. So every other holder that I've come to, at least up to this point, has had the decency to contain their story, even if they are a little bit on the long side, on one page. 5 to 10 minutes of reading. Damascus here wrote a multi-chapter story about one of the holders, the holder of deliverance. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 chapters, which all link to separate articles, which he expects me to read. Some of these articles 3 times the length of an average Holder article. No, fuck you. I'm not reading all that nonsense. If there is a massive clamor, if suddenly I get a bunch of people asking me, read the stories, Micah, read the stories, maybe it's good. Maybe it is good. That's not the point. You decided that your story was so good that you could break with the established formula, which is not at all the point of these. I don't mind people going outside the bounds of an established medium by any means. This wasn't the way to do it, man. Write side fiction, write side stories. There's some fantastic, like SCP, there's some fantastic side stories. But all the articles are formatted the same, even if they become massive, lengthy, addendum-riddled articles. At least all of the work that pertains to the in-universe fantasy has a particular agreed-upon format, and that what makes those so good. That allows us to maintain the illusion of the fantasy, so that you don't have to do stuff like I'm doing right here, absolutely pulling you out of the fantasy to have my own little diatribe. Am I being a little hypocritical here? Yes, absolutely, but I don't care. It's also hypocritical, not hypocritical, but you know what? I'm here now. I'm angry. There goes my beautiful, pretty line. In any city, in any country, go to any residential alleyway or street in a metropolis, read one of 11 fucking Water and Snow, Ghosts, Seeking Snow White, Changed, Answers, The Librarian, Bounty, Holding, Whispers, Blood and Oil, Delivered. Bro, do you want your own fucking Holder? Like, make your own website. Take this, and this is why you got 1 star, man. This is why you got 1 star and only 3 people bothered to vote on it. And I went back through the previous versions. It's the only 232 that exists. Anyway, The Pendulum is Object 232 of 538. Deliverance is held only by those that have so earned it. You didn't earn it! You didn't earn it, motherfucker! I'm gonna write 11 chapters and make you link to different art. 1 out of 5. 2/6/2011. Anyways, back to your regularly scheduled holders. In any city, in any country, go to any maternity ward you can get yourself into. Find the area where they keep the newborns. There should be a female nurse watching them through the window. If it is a male nurse or anybody else is present, leave the hospital as quickly as you can. The holder knew somebody was coming. If you are lucky, you will remain unknown and be allowed to try again. If not, well, good luck avoiding children for the rest of your life. If only the female nurse is present, however, approach her and ask, "What does it cost to speak our mind?" If you have done this, the nurse will sigh and open the door into the room of babies. Thank her for her time and enter. No matter what size the room was, it will now be larger than imaginable, filled with rows upon rows of cradles. You will notice that the final cradle in the room is empty. Walk to the closest one you see and check for an identification card. It is easy enough to spot. If these cards are not present, leave immediately. If nothing arrives to stop you, you may try once again 9 months have passed. But entering any hospital before that time will lead you to an unspeakable horror. If you do find the card, you will notice several things. The card will bear the name of someone you have previously met, and 3 pictures. The first picture is the person as you remember them. The second is a picture of the person in the prime of life, and the third is a picture of the person after they have died. If this is what you see, you know it will be safe to continue. This holder is relatively kind, so he will let you choose your own path through this adventure, but only once. The babies in these cradles represent all the people you have ever met, ranging from people you have briefly met in passing to the people you love most. They are highly prone to suggestion, and the person they will become is entirely based upon what you tell them. Your task is to go to each and every one of these cradles and tell the babies what they will become. You are fully welcome to lie to all of them for their benefit or misfortune without being harmed. You will even be allowed to leave and continue your life. However, you give up any chance of retrieving the object by doing this. To continue on your task, you must accurately describe what you know about them, fully aware that what you say is bound to come true. This may not be very hard at first, but when you tell your friends and loved ones about traits that cause them harm in the future, you will want to end your own life out of the guilt. If you show this weakness, the holder will be more than happy to put you out of your misery, painfully. He may be kind, but he cannot tolerate people who hide the truth. After you have spoken to all of the babies, wait at the empty cradle. If nothing happens, resign yourself to years of watching the lives of all the people in the room without you present. Life continues to move without you, and death will only claim you after the last person you have known dies. Unfortunately, these people will live for a very long time. If a doctor rushes in with your newborn baby, you know you have spoken correctly. He will place the child and the card into the cradle and walk away. The holder is pleased with you and is offering you one of the most merciful choices you have ever been given in your quest for the objects. You will quickly discover that you are the baby laying in the cradle, and the pictures on the card display you as the paragon of success, you as a corpse, and you as you are now. The pictures show the 3 actions you can take. The first action has attracted many seekers who feel they deserve a reward for what they have done. You can tell your infant self any number of lies about what you are, and what you say will come true and more. If you walk out the door after that, you will be reborn. You will find that everything comes to you quite easily in life, and everybody clamors to be your friend. The truth is, this is because this is the only chance for them to feel any measure of greatness. You steal the skills and fortunes of others to use for yourself, and they are left with the consequences. Your family will be stricken by poverty, paying for your many schools and interests, and your friends will be confined to lives far worse than what they could be living. Of course, this means not only losing the object of the task, but forsaking all of the other objects as well. This desire will remain with you until it becomes too much, and you take your own life. You will be sent to the lowest levels of hell for endless torment. After all, you took the easy way out. Your entire life was a lie, but your afterlife serves as the ultimate truth. The second option is to kill your newborn self. This is one of the few ways to forever escape the personal damnation of the objects. By destroying yourself, you may even be found worthy of a peaceful afterlife, as your sacrifice prevented you from completing countless other horrors. However, even this ultimate gift of the holder comes at a price. Someone is bound to come after you, and it is certain they will unite them. The final option is the only one which will lead you to the object. You must tell your infant self nothing more than the absolute truth about yourself. You must tell him everything you love and fear, all your dark desires, and all your well-hidden secrets. Hold nothing back, for no harm can come to you at this point. Finally, you must tell yourself about the objects. Many seekers go mad at this point, as they realize there is nobody to blame for their obsession, as it is their own fault. If you have chosen the third option and were successful, the doctor will come into the room again. He will tell you how sincerity is a devastating weapon. He will tell you about the people that spoke their minds and were punished for it, and of those who fell to ruin and death after they learned what people really thought about them. After he tells you this, he will motion for you to leave. It will be wise to obey. You will find yourself in the hallway you began at. The nurse who led you in will be holding a baby draped in a black blanket. It won't take long to realize that the baby has died. She will tell you that he choked on his pacifier, that the item intended to calm him ended up killing him. She will then tell you that sincerity is similar. It is a double-edged sword that can be used to console, but also to destroy. She will then hand you the child's pacifier, telling you to always value sincerity, for the doctor's sake. The pacifier is Object 233 of 538. There's nobody to blame but yourself. In any city, in any country, go to any police department you can get yourself to. Ask the officer at the front desk if you may see the one who calls himself the Holder of Order. If the officer appears to know of what you speak, then you have come to the right place at the right time. If the officer does not appear to know of what you speak, then the cosmos is not in line for this holder at the moment. You will have to come again when the stars are aligned, so that this holder will show himself. If you have come at the right time, then the officer at the desk will give you directions leading back of the department. The instructions will be very specific, and contain directions that may seem very inconsequential to your goal, almost as if the one giving the directions suffers from OCD. The path laid out in the directions will have you going from one end of the building to the other, doing assorted random things such as turning pencils sideways and counting the sheets of paper in each printer you pass. I suggest doing these seemingly ridiculous tasks, lest you upset the holder and face the full wrath of the long arm of the law. After completing the annoying and inefficient tasks, you will find yourself at the back of the building in the chief's office. Sitting there at the desk in the center of the room will be a stout and muscular man, seemingly in his mid-30s. Do not let this illusion deceive you, for he is far older than he seems, having existed as long as the objects themselves. He is the Holder of Order. As you approach him, he will glare at you with his deeply set eyes that seem to pierce your flesh and pry into your very soul. He will know your every sin, your every fault, every weakness, every guilty pleasure, every crime. He may begin to interrogate you, asking you all of these things. If he does not, he has deemed you too tainted to hold his object, and you will have to find a way to remove your taint or mask it from even the holder if you wish to have this object. If he does begin, it'll be a long and agonizing interrogation. You will be placed under a very hot lamp, deprived of food and drink, and subjected to a barrage of questions and accusations so rapid in succession that you won't be able to respond to half of them. He will ask you about every wrong you have committed, and you must answer truthfully, for he already knows. Many are driven to madness or suicide by this interrogation, and the old guilt it digs up. If you manage to survive this ordeal without lying to him, you will be rewarded. If you do lie, your soul will be subjected to everlasting incarceration in a hellish prison, while your body is left to waste away in an earthly one. The reward you will receive from the holder is a large 44 Magnum revolver. With it, however, comes the burden of having your dreams filled with every atrocity ever committed in the name of order. Every act of police brutality, every fascist state's crimes, every genocide shall be the stuff your dreams are made of. The handgun is Object 234 of 538. Every shot fired will slay your target, but also the life of an innocent. Such is the price of order. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, look into the eyes of the attendant and ask her if you may visit the Holder of Valor. The room will begin to darken, a subtle wind will begin to pick up, slowly strengthening into a mighty gale. All signs of life will begin to slowly fade from the room. Then, following it, the furniture will begin to fade as well. The last thing standing will be the receptionist, hung in midair like a lifeless puppet on strings, deathly red eyes locked with yours, who amidst the gale will emit a low and evil laugh, as if the devil himself were ridiculing you. Before darkness enshrouds you, she will disappear, leaving a terrifying echo among the winds. As the shroud of darkness dissipates before you, an ancient and long, winding old stone road will begin to materialize. The laws of physics will appear skewed, but do not mind. Flames will leap from the darkness beyond the road, faces ever-changing inscribed in the hearts of the fires, screaming their final desperate messages as they descend into nothingness. As the road waxes and wanes around the edges of reality, a cool silvery mist will descend upon your path. Thoughts of despair will cloud your mind, suffocating feelings of joy and rendering thoughts of hope futile. You will see the world burn before you, your loved ones murdered by their hands. None will survive, no matter how courageous they seem to be. Only those brave enough to withdraw themselves from these imaginations will bear the willpower to continue along the cursed road. For many souls have cast themselves to the flames, bordering the nothingness, in an attempt to free their tainted mind. As you travel farther into the void, it'll become increasingly difficult to walk correctly. Even if you trip and fall among the dreaded road, do not fear and begin to trek on once more, or you'll become consumed by the void growing around you. If your resolve remains untouched, your soul unkempt from the horrors of the mist, and if you keep your body moving forward, then a hooded figure will appear before you, gazing in your opposite direction. It will steal a glance from beneath its hood, and quickly begin to enter the labyrinth of roads before you. Though your body may not be able to bear the weight of the thickening mist, you must urge it to continue at a faster pace to remain behind the figure, or it will lose you in the labyrinth, only to gaze upon your body and laugh in amusement as the beasts of the void consume your essence before it. Only by strengthening your determination will you catch up with the hooded figure. As you draw near the end of the maze, mind teetering upon the brink of madness, the hooded figure will slowly turn around, removing its hood. Its face shall be that of your closest friend, and in such dark, hopeless place, it will be the warm reminder of life. As you approach the figure, the face will begin to grow more pale, smile vanishing into an emotion of wicked nature. As you approach the figure, your body will begin to slowly lose the dwindling energy that it had hours ago, and you will find yourself at the mercy of the figure before you. Your friend will emit a low laugh, weakening your spirits to the point of collapse. As your body dies further, as the final sliver of hope departs your body, this is where you must triumph. For in its arrogance, the hooded figure has left its greatest weakness unguarded: hope. Only those with the strongest valor can hope of overcoming the looming figure, for if you cower before it, no mercy shall be spared for you, and your soul will join in those flames. If you have managed to summon forth your will, the figure will begin to shriek, horror wrought upon its eyes. Its very flesh will begin to melt away until only its dark yet glimmering cloak remains. Don your enemy's final remains. They should fit just fine. The cloak you bear upon your shoulders is Object 235 of 538. Among the dark and troubled times, despair and hate reign supreme. As long as you wear the cloak, they will part in your presence. Their downfall is at hand. In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit someone who calls himself the Holder of Trust. A wave of terror should flow over the worker's face. They will stand and open a steel panel at the end of the hallway. Go down the ladder slowly. You will begin to hear two children laughing. If the girl stops, get back to the top of the ladder as fast as you can, lest you find what has been waiting for you. If the boy stops, continue down. Should you reach the bottom, there will be a door. Open it slowly and close it behind you. A man will stand before you with no face and in all white clothing. You will notice a necklace that seems to be broken in half. It is made of bone and will draw you towards it. Be resilient and hold your place. If you get too close, he will break every bone in your body before he will kill you. Ask him this question: who will help me find them? His face will not move, but in the most horrific voice that will ever befall your ears, he will tell you your answer. He will walk behind you. Open your arms in a T shape. He will say, "Am I the one you shall trust?" Do not fall into his arms, lest you be thrown into a fate worse than death. Close your eyes, quickly turn around, and fall. You will feel wind passing your head as you fall for what seems like forever. Do not open your eyes, or there may be a bottom of this fall. If you keep your eyes closed and your arms spread, you will stop. Open your eyes, and you will be back at the institution entrance. Reach into your pocket, and you will reveal the other half of the man's necklace. This necklace is object 236 of 538. Is there no one I can trust? In any city, in any country, go to any mental institution or halfway house you can get yourself to. Walk to the front desk and demand to see the one who calls himself the Holder of Space. The man will stand and wave you towards a door. Do not go alone. Tell him the way is too long to walk alone. He will then lead you to the Holder's cell. You will first stop at a hallway. You can see the end, but it seems to become darker the longer you look at it. You will begin to hear mumbling in a language that is terrifying. Each syllable will make it harder and harder to walk. You must continue on, walking for what seems like hours. When you make it down the hallway, you will be shown a door. Look inside. In the back, you will see the Holder. He looks like an ordinary man dirtied by the cell. A white jumpsuit is all that covers him. You may notice he is wearing a blindfold of a strange design. It is red and covered in markings of an unknown language. His eyes will glow through it with an aura that seems as though the devil himself is wearing it. The man who had been guiding you will then open the door. Do not enter. The Holder of Space may be blindfolded, but is very aware of where you are. The guide will now hand you a blindfold. You can refuse to put it on and leave at this point without consequences, if you'd like. Keep in mind that should you put it on, you will be in the Holder's territory. Put on the blindfold. You know you are wearing a blindfold, but for some reason, it'll feel as though you are simply looking into darkness, your vision unhindered. If you hear footsteps running at you, do not attempt to remove the blindfold, for it is far too late. I suggest you fight off this Holder as long as you can, because when he finally wears you out, he has not a friend in the darkness, and will do anything to keep himself entertained. Should you hear the soft footsteps of him walking, however, stand still. You will hear what sounds something like "next" in the most agonized voice, and your body will jerk forward, forcing you to walk. You would do best not to remember that you are at the front door of the cell and will soon run into the Holder, for this thought alone may drive you into madness. Keep walking, and you will soon find that space is not what keeps you apart from this Holder. You will continue walking until you hear what seems like hooks in a whisper, as if someone was right at your ear. This could take seconds, or it could take hours. Your body will suddenly halt. The holder should now be in view. It is strongly suggested you hold your eyes open and do not blink. There is no such thing as space in this realm, and the holder will walk as far as he wants, in as much or as little time as he pleases. Blink one too many times, and this holder will be nose to nose with you, and his presence will be so mind-numbing that it may stop your heart. Hope that this is the case, because that would be ecstasy compared to the holder's plan. Granted, you stand there for enough time without blinking, the holder will not move, waiting for his chance to approach unseen. Eventually, the holder will collapse from having to watch you for so long. This is your only chance. Quickly ask him, how did the object get to its holder? You will hear an ear-piercing shriek, and he will tell you about him, and how the objects were scattered. The tale is full of impossibilities and atrocities. If you can bear the words, let alone the sound of the holder's voice, he will hand you a red cloth. It is warm to the touch and heavy, even though it is rather small. You will notice it is the same one he was wearing in the cell. Take off your blindfold. The holder will be standing in the same place, and you still outside the cell. Neither of you have moved. You will now see his eyes. They are large and will be staring at you almost down into your soul. You will be holding his blindfold. Close the door and walk away while reciting these words. Space is an idea, and I am its holder. No space is too far from which I will grow older. To take one step would be to take 1,000, but to see my steps would bear me great pain. No weather will slow me, nor earthquake, nor rain. I am the space's holder. Now witness my reign. If you do not recite this, then the holder will. Be very afraid. He won't let you take it so easily then. The blindfold is object 237 of 538. Not even space can keep them from coming together. In any city, in any country, go to any wedding reception you can get yourself into. Approach the groom, congratulate him on his marriage, and ask him if somebody called the Holder of Chastity accepted their invitation. What happens next depends on sheer luck or prior knowledge. Consulting the Parrot of Truth beforehand will be able to spare you the risk of this part of the holder's test. If the man's bride has felt sexual pleasure at any time before their marriage, the groom will become offended and will destroy you with whatever is at hand. However, if she has remained totally chaste, the groom will greet you as he would greet a dear friend. He will call over one of the bridesmaids and tell her to lead you to the bridal suite. As you walk down the impossibly long hallway, you will see time progress backwards. Photos on the wall will change from sleek digital prints to large sheafs of paper, and further until they become paintings. The clothes you and the bridesmaid wear will also progress backwards in time. It is advised that you drop all items of modern convenience you may be carrying. Keeping them will not directly bring failure, but past seekers have been burned as witches for possessing prototyped telephones. When the hallway finally ends, you and your guide will be dressed in 17th century clothing, facing a very solid wooden door. The bridesmaid will lead you into the room and present you to the bride. Show proper respect to the woman as fit to the era. These maidens are clever and can recognize those unlike themselves. They will not be able to do much on their own, but the knights they summon will be merciless. When the bridesmaids finish tending to the bride, they will leave. Follow them. As you walk out, you will hear the clink of a key falling on the door. Pick it up and close the door behind you. Wait until the coast is totally clear and re-enter the room. Make sure the door is bolted shut behind you, for that is the only way you'll have enough time to complete the task. Approach the bride and hand her the key, and ask her this one question. What has sexual temptation done to the world? The bride will stand, lift her dress, and reveal a chastity belt. She will use the key to unlock the belt and begin having intercourse with you at a furious pace. Midway through the act, the door will come under attack. The groom has become a knight after walking the hall and is not too happy with you deflowering his bride. If the knight breaks the door before you finish, you will be chopped to pieces on the spot, and your remains will be fed to dogs. You will remain alive and conscious for the entirety. If the door holds until you are finished, the knight will demand an explanation. The bride will start to shout about how you forced the key from her and violated her. The knight will rush towards you and knock you unconscious. You will wake in a church strapped onto a table surrounded by monks. If anybody but the monks are present, use the little time you have left to make peace with your higher power. The obvious head monk will be standing at the bottom of your feet. Once he sees that you have awakened, he will tell you about all the times giving in to sexual desires has brought pain and suffering upon the world. He will tell you stories of unwanted, abused, and terminated children and people killed in the prime of life by sexually transmitted disease. The words he will say will press upon your very heart, and you will realize just how rare and precious your very life has been. Even worse, he will tell you how sexual deviancy will lead to the unity of the objects. He will reveal that you will bring him into the world through your sexual desires. The monk will finish his speech and hold up the sharp silver knife. Take comfort in the fact at this point getting the object is assured. However, it serves as little consolation when the monk castrates you in an attempt to solve the problem. The pain is sure to make you black out, and there's no reason to fight it. You will awaken, lying on your own bed, and come to the full realization that you are now a eunuch. The knife that was used by the monk will be lying next to you, permanently stained by blood. The silver knife of chastity is object 238 of 538. There is always another way. In any city, in any country, find and visit an old library that is at least 50 years old to your knowledge. Find your way to the information desk and ask them to lead you to the holder of details. The attendant will be reluctant, even scared by your inquiry. They will initially tell you that such a thing does not exist in their library. Ignore this and insist to be taken to the holder. Eventually, they will give in, though they will not go with you. They will instead write a call number on a piece of paper. Take the number and begin to search for it, following the sections of the library. You will find that it leads into a section deep within the library, deeper than you thought the library was. Continue searching and do not look back. There is no turning back. The shelves will not permit you to leave and will block your path. If you persist in trying to escape, they will crush you and bind your flesh and soul in a book that they will hold for eternity. Just keep going and keep looking for a call number you were given. There will be whispers among the shelves, and they will grow louder as you come closer to your destination. Do not call out to them, as they are not human and they don't like to be disturbed. Continue onward and let them whisper without interruption. You will not find the number before you find a pair of shelves blocking the path ahead. If you turn around, you will see that another set of shelves has boxed you in. Stay where you are and do not so much as think of escaping. Any attempts to escape will be met with a quick death. Stay put, and you will hear a raspy voice speak from the shelves. Whatever it may say to you, there is only one correct answer. I wish to learn. It will ask you 3 questions, all of which relate to your life and your loved ones. For each answer, it'll provide you with painful details, all of which will dispel trust and security about their subject, all of which were in plain sight to you all along, be it your mother, your spouse, or your best friend. These details are truth, fact. You cannot argue. When it is done, it'll go silent for a few moments, allowing you to digest these little overlooked details about your life. It will ask, do you accept this? Do not lie, for this is a difficult challenge. It can smell lies. Only if you accept those horrible things in your heart and speak the truth, only then will it allow you to live. There is no place for the weak of heart in here. If by chance you are strong of heart and survive, the 2 shelf sets that let you trapped will move out of the way, and you will be free to leave. However, do not depart too swiftly. A book will fall from one of the shelves onto the floor behind you, bound in a dusty tan leather cover. On the cover is an indentation in the shape of a human ear. On its spine is the number you were given, inked in crimson. This book is the holder, and it'll gladly give you similar details. All you must do is ask. This book, the holder, is Object 239 of 538. 299 yet remain, and if they come together, it'll be on your shoulders. But who cares about the details anyways? In any city, in any country, go to any theater before the first showing of the day, and ask the man at the ticket booth for a ticket to The Holder of the Finale. If he says, "We're sold out," then it's already too late. Leave. The object will never be yours. If he just hands you a ticket, close your eyes and walk into the theater. If your eyes were closed, you'll pass into an auditorium with a solid black stage and thousands of rows of seats. The curtains for the play will be closed. The room will be packed with people, but it'll be too dark to see any of them clearly. Just find a seat and sit quietly. The play should begin soon. This play will be nothing like you've seen before. The props and backdrops will be on fire. The room will be saturated with the acrid reek of brimstone. Words spoken will not make sense. Demons will stride across the stage and imps will dance. Your dead loved ones will also appear on stage. The play is about them being trapped in hell. You have to be very careful here. Even the slightest mistake could cause your demise. Follow the reactions of the crowd. If they clap, clap louder than you ever have. If they cry, break into fake sobbing. Be very quick, because their reactions will jerk. They could laugh for 3 minutes, then suddenly start crying for 12 seconds, and then shoot straight back to laughter. If you do not follow them perfectly, the people around you will become angry, and an usher will throw you out for being troublemaking. Your fate will be explained later. If anyone else is dragged out of the theater, ignore them. Any reaction will make the ushers think you're with the troublemaker, and they'll throw you out too. These people are other seekers. They've come from the past and the future. Every seeker across time that ever asked for the holder of the finale is in this theater. Don't be tempted, though. Stay with the crowd. As the play grows on, you will feel yourself growing weak. Whatever happens, you must never, ever fall asleep. You must also never let your dulled senses get in the way of following the crowd's reaction. If you fall asleep, again, your fate will be explained later. The play will continue until there is one seeker left in the crowd. If you're lucky enough to have avoided the ushers at this point, the crowd will suddenly give a standing ovation, and the curtain will close. The narrator will call you to the stage to give a bow. At this point, walking will be painful from your exhaustion. You must persevere. If you don't get up within the next 30 seconds, an usher will carry you to the stage, and your experience will be a much more painful finale. If you do manage to rise, a spotlight will shine on you. The audience will fall dead silent as you approach the stage. You will get used to the spotlight after a few minutes, and be able to see the crowd for the first time. You will notice that their limbs are tied to the ceiling with strings. They're just bodies painted to look alive. When the narrator gets to the stage, give a bow, then facing the audience, say, "What happens to the actors after the finale?" Anything else will enrage the audience. They will boo and hiss, and the demons from the play will reappear and drag you to the fiery pits of hell. Say the right phrase, and the narrator will smile and say, "Of course, let's not forget your supporting players." All the seekers thrown out will walk back in, and all the seekers asleep will wake up. They'll march on stage behind you. You will hear them whisper, "Why did I sleep?" or "Why didn't I listen?" They'll say it one by one, but it'll be done so fluently that it'll seem like they're all talking at once. Never interrupt them. If you do, they'll stop talking. The narrator, the seekers, and the audience will then stay silent and motionless forever. There is no way to restart this step, and no progression without it. When they're done, the narrator will scold the seekers. He'll say that they weren't interested enough in the finale, that they should have listened closer. Because of their apathy, they're damned to never know the ending of the hellish play. At this point, you may have noticed each seeker being pulled by the same strings as the audience. If not, it doesn't matter, because you will notice it now. When the scolding is over, each of these strings will begin to glow a faint yellow. The seekers will try to rip their strings out. However, they'll be too weak to move their arms at all. One by one, the strings fade, and each will begin to die at your feet. Watching them die will be like watching your own family die helplessly in front of you. Still, you must clap and congratulate each for their performance as they struggle. When they've all died, save one, the last will come up to you and say, "Is this truly the finale?" The narrator will break in with laughter and say, "We're about to find out." At that moment, you'll notice the same strings protruding from your skin. They're buried under your flesh with hooks. No matter how weak you are, you must rip out these hooks. Their glowing is the very last bit of life leaving your body. You have only about a half a minute to do this. If you manage to rip out all the hooks, the last seeker will look at you with a smile and say, "You're an inspiration to us all." His eyes will swell with tears, and he'll choke from happiness over meeting you. Moments later, he'll collapse, dead with the others. Sad as it may be, a serene feeling of completion will rush over you. Your loved ones will now come on stage and give a bow. You can take this opportunity to speak with them. The audience will give one last clap and begin to leave. The entire audience exit, however, the doors will lock. The lights will be shut off, and you'll be trapped in the darkness of the locked theater for the remainder of eternity. Before this happens, turn to the audience, close your eyes, give a bow, and stand straight back up. When you reopen your eyes, you'll be standing outside the theater just as the play is letting out. A crowd of people will walk by talking about the hellish play. They'll ignore you and disappear into the night. The strings you're holding are Object 240 of 538. After the finale, no master pulls the strings.